Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about communication and the twin. So your twin is your mirror, right? The twin is you. This is your reflection. This is your mirror. And I have, I see you guys in the comments say this often, and from time to time I have this come across my coaching as well. It's just sort of this idea is that if only the twin could communicate with me in a way that we could work things out. If only we could sit down and have a conversation and they could actually understand where I'm coming from, then maybe we could get on the same page. Or things of that nature. Or I'm having this communication with the twin and it seems like things were going well, but then suddenly now we're back in the same sort of issue that we had before, and I don't know what they're not getting and I don't know what they're not understanding, all of those sort of things. So this is a normal response, right? This is normal for us to feel like, why can't I just sit down and have a conversation with my twin about our dynamic, our relationship, what's going wrong potentially, how we can communicate better, how we can fix things, all of that sort of stuff that we have learned and have been taught in the 3D templated romantic partnerships, and also just familial and platonic friendships and work situations and all of that. That's what you would normally do. Communicate it out, figure it all out. And when that doesn't work with the twin, the feminine gets really frustrated by that and doesn't understand and all of those sort of things. And so again, I want to pull you guys' attention back to the awareness that this is you dealing with you, right? This is you communicating with you. This is you potentially arguing with you. This is you trying to get yourself to understand yourself. And so I know that that's like a far out sort of concept, but basically you're arguing with your mirror, right? You're trying to communicate with the mirror and to get the mirror to understand what it is that you're saying and where you're coming from, and you're not understanding why the mirror is just reflecting back to you whatever it is you're saying, instead of helping you to solve the problem, right? To solve the issue, to move through this, to communicate freely, to, have this back and forth feedback, whatever else. And not to say that there aren't some twins who do communicate openly and freely, right, with one another, and that's all fine and good. But inevitably, they still find that no matter how many communications they have with the twin, they don't really fix things, right? It doesn't really work in the same way as it would have worked in your past relationship dynamics, potentially, as you were hoping that it's going to work with the twin. And that's the reason why. It's because when we get into this belief system, and it's just normal, right? This is just how we were brought up. This is what we do. But when you're going through an awakening, when you meet the twin, when you meet yourself, this is about you waking up out of all of those past programmings and conditionings that are saying that this is some other person other than you, that this isn't your reflection, that this isn't your mirror. And so then you can work out whatever issues that you feel that you have through a normal means of, right, communication, the way that you would have always communicated. And then we wonder why it doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work, right? Because the twin is only going to reflect back to you. They are the mirror. So again, if you're always trying to get your mirror to understand where you're coming from, or to validate you, or to get on the same page with you in regard to any sort of situation, specifically this is usually in regard to your romantic interaction, your communication, how they're treating you, whether they're coming and going, whether they're in and out, whether they're showing up in their divinity or not, and all of those sort of things. We have to remind yourself that it doesn't matter how many communications that you have with your twin about all of these things that potentially you would have had with a soulmate or a karmic. It doesn't matter how many times you have that conversation. The change begins within you, right? The mirror is only going to reflect you. So if you're still trying to come at this from the same methodologies that you have been using as you've been, growing up and going through your life and whatever else with the twin, and you're wondering why they don't work, that's why they don't work. Because this is you. And I know that that's a broad concept. Like, I get that that's a really broad concept. And I get that it's annoying on some level to feel like you've been doing a ton of work, excavating the shadow, looking at the shadow, loving, embracing the shadow, doing all of the stuff. And now you're in the situation of you're saying, okay, I've done all this stuff, but I don't see the difference in the twin. If you're looking for the difference in the twin, you're not going to see it, because now, again, you're moving from that externality. I've done all of this work, and so why are you not reflecting back to me all of the work that I've done? If you're my, if you're my reflection, if you're my mirror, I've done all this stuff. And so what does that mean? So that means maybe you must just be an ass, or you're just projecting on me, or whatever and whatever and whatever, right? That's like we go naturally back into that whole thing. Well, I've done all of this, but they're still showing up like that. So in those moments, you have to ask yourself, is this an old energy showing up that's seeing if you're going to get triggered by it again, right? Because if you don't get triggered by it, then that means there's nothing else running within you, which means you're ready to move on to the next rung on the ladder as I speak vibrationally. But if the twin is still triggering you, and if these communications are still going awry, and if you still feel like it's not really working, and if you still feel like you've done all of these things and you've done all of this work and they're still showing up in this certain place and it's still pissing you off, then it's still running within you, right? The mirror is the mirror is the mirror. It's either going to reflect back to your shadow or it's going to reflect back to your light. And that's just what it is. Like, it doesn't fail. It's not faulty. This is the way the whole thing works, right? This is the way that it has been set up so that you can clearly see what's going on, what subconscious programs are still running. It doesn't mean that you're in that situation, like I've said in a ton of my videos, that you're just like, oh hell, now I have to do more work, and now I have to go back in and da-da-da-da-da. Some of this stuff, you guys, you just need to let it go, right? This is why I say things like, if you're going on and on and on and on and on in regard to what's wrong, in regard to I keep doing the work and I keep doing the work and at some point, keeping doing the work is what is keeping you doing the work, right? At some point, the healing of all this stuff, it ends. And so you need to really be honest with yourself in those moments of being like, how much more is there that I really need to excavate? Is there really more healing and more shadow work and more inner work that I need to do? And am I now potentially chasing the work, right? I did another video on this. Sometimes we sort of replace the chasing of the twin with the chasing of the inner work, the chasing of the healing, the chasing of I need to get better and all of those things. And then we're constantly looking to the twin to see if it's working, right? So you need to just really check in with yourself and just feel into the awareness of this is a mirror. This is a reflection. And no matter how much I communicate with my reflection is only going to show me back to me. And so I can get really frustrated and feel like I've done all of these things and I've done all this work, and why is the mirror not changing? Why is the reflection not changing? Why is my communication still the same? Ask yourself, do you still have an attachment to how the twin shows up? Do you still have an expectation to how they show up? Are you still hoping that this thing is going to look differently because you've done an X, Y, and Z? Because again, that's an attachment and that's expectation. This whole path has to be fully about you. It can't be, I've done a little bit of work or I've done a lot of work and I keep looking over my shoulder to see if that's reflecting back to me, right? Because that looking over your shoulder means that is still a dominant energy that's running within you that's saying, I'm doing all the work and now I need to see my reflection to validate to me that I've done all of the work. And so if that still is a dominant energy saying, I need you to show me through communication that you understand that we're on the same page and that you're getting what I'm putting down and that you're, picking up what we're talking about and we're going through this whole thing together, there's only you. There's only you here. So, I understand that that's a far out there concept and it just sounds completely crazy to the mind. But you are leading this entire thing. Your thoughts are leading it. Your subconscious programs are leading it. Your belief systems are believing it. Your dominant energy is leading it. So you need to really be paying attention to, how am I feeling in these moments that are coming up for me? Am I still getting triggered? If you're still getting triggered, then there's still something there, right? And I know that that can be really frustrating, and that's why I say on some levels, if you still feel like I keep needing to heal more, and I keep needing to clear more, and I keep needing to transmute more, and I keep needing to at some point you need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, do I actually need to transmute and heal and clear more? Or have I just told myself that? Have I just slipped into another belief system that is convincing me that I still need to do more work? Like I said, this path is not a never-ending, excavation of what's wrong. It's not a never-ending healing process that you're just going to be on for the rest of your life. And sometimes we get into this thing where we've been so used to like digging up all of this stuff and examining what's going on and the programming and all that sort of stuff, that becomes so much of our focus that we don't know how to step out of that. Right? So just have that awareness, right? Because that happens often. It happens often. At some point, you just have to allow yourself to let stuff go. If you've looked at it 100 times, if you know what your core wound is, if you've gone over it and over and over it, and you've cleared it and you cleared it and you cleared it and you cleared it and you cleared it and all these sort of things, and it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up, then you need to ask yourself, am I just simply still believing in this? Am I just simply still identifying with this, even though I have released it? Sometimes you just need to let go, guys. Sometimes you just need to trust yourself and jump, right? If you find that you're on like this healing, releasing kind of thing for like years and years, then on some level there's something going on where you've either created another belief system that just has you on this unending path of healing and thinking that something's wrong, or you're afraid to step into your light. And I'm gonna do a video on that as well. It's normal to be afraid to step into your light, to be like, let go of the familiarity of the program, to let go of the familiarity of how the twin has always showed up, because we're used to that, right? You know what to expect, even if you don't like it, you know what to expect. And so that gives you kind of this safe, quote unquote, landing space in regard to what you're experiencing with the twin, right? And so a lot of times just letting go of the program and the belief and the subconscious patterning and all of those stuff, because you've seen it 1,000 times, you know it like the back of your hand, you need to be honest and say, okay, I've done it all. Now I need to just fully release it in whatever belief system that's telling me that I still need to hold on to this stuff, and I need to jump. I need to free fall. And a lot of times we're afraid to free fall when it comes with the twin, because then you don't know what's on the other side, right? The higher self that is you is going to catch you. I keep saying that. It's not going to let you fall. But you have to be honest with yourself about, what is the reflection continuing to show me? And am I creating this over and over again? Because I'm afraid to move to the next, vibrational state, because I'm afraid to let go of this familiar, potentially healing pattern that I've been in, or because I'm afraid to let go of how the twin shows up, because at least they show up. I might not like it, the way that they're showing up. I might want to change that, but at least I know that they show up in this way, and so that becomes familiar, right? And so releasing all of that and letting go can be a scary thing. So just feel into that and be honest with yourselves, about where you're experiencing the healing, the releasing, the transmuting, and all of that sort of stuff. And have the awarenesses that when you're really wanting your twin to show up and you're communicating with them in all of these different ways, in the same way that you have in other 3D romantic partnerships in the past, it's just simply not going to work like that, right? They're only going to reflect back to you. And so if you're always like, why can't we get on the same page, and I've done all this work, and why are you not reflecting back to me, and all that kind of stuff, and if we could just communicate, and if we could just do this and just do that, then literally all your, go and say all that stuff in front of the mirror and see what the mirror says back. That's literally what's happening. So you're saying, I need us to work this out. And so they're saying, I need us to work this out. And so you're saying, you know, why can we never get on the same page? Why can we never get on the same page? It's just, it's just coming straight back at you, right? It's just coming straight back at you. So be in that awareness, guys, is that you are the one that is conscious of this connection. You are the leading energy here. And the shifts that you are making within you are what you are seeing through the twin, from your physical reality, because that's what you're creating, right? But if you're having like some sort of an attachment, then the twin is gonna like reflect back to you that you can't have that attachment. If you're having an expectation, they're gonna reflect back to you that expectations backfire. If you're like hoping that you can like have a come to Jesus conversation with them and they're gonna really understand what you're saying now and you're gonna get on the same page, they're gonna act like that's absolutely not what they can do, right? Because you are looking to them for external validation again. You're looking to them to show you that you are, you know, worthy of this, that you're valid for this, that you've done the work, that you've done all of this. That's the thing when I say that you really need to keep your focus off of the masculine, because the masculine is following your energy. That's just what they do. They're following what you're thinking, they're following what you're believing, they're following what you're believing in, they're following what your subconscious programs are telling you, they're following what your belief systems are telling you, you know, what you're aligning to, what you're attached to. All of that sort of fear-based energy is what they're reflecting back to you. Yes, they all also reflect back to you your light, right? We all have those moments that the twin reflects back to us our light. But just have the awareness. It's coming from within you. And so, like I say, when, you know, I have people in the comments are like, I've done the work, I've done the work, and done the work, and then they're still doing this, and there's not any change, and blah, 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 blah. One or two things have happened. You're either still running the program and you just don't want to like face it or deal with it, or that's still your dominant energy. So you're telling yourself one thing, but you're still having a dominant energy that's saying the opposite, or you have hit the end rung on your healing path and you do not need to continue to beat yourself down that path for another couple of years of what's wrong and what's broken and how do I clear it and da-da-da-da, right? Don't allow that to become a self-fulfilling, perpetual process that is holding you back, right? Because that happens. And so it's one of those two things, right? So if the old energy keeps coming up and it's like, this is old energy, but you still giving me attention, and so we're gonna still play the game, and you're like, but I know this cleared this, I know I cleared this, but you keep giving it attention anyway, then it just keeps staying in your reality. So ask yourself in those moments where you feel like you're getting triggered or the communication isn't good or whatever else, you know, is this old energy that I've actually released and that I need to not react to anymore because it's gone? Or is this a situation where, yeah, there's still something here, I'm actually getting triggered, this is really throwing me off, and okay, so there's still something here that I need to look at, right? Use the communication as a gauge for what's really going on within you vibrationally, what's going on within your thoughts, your programming, your patterns, all of that sort of stuff. Instead of using it as the twin doesn't show up, or, you know, I don't know how to be unconditionally loving with them. It's about being unconditionally loving with the self. You are the twin. Being unconditionally loving with self, coming back into self-love is what will attract the twin. Attract, that's the horrible word because they're you, in a different light, right? In a different vibration. Why? Because you are in a different light and you're in a different vibration, right? So use the mirror, right? Use the mirror. It's going to show you where you're at. And be discerning with the fact is this old energy coming up to test me to see if I'm ready to like jump to the next vibration, jump to the next rung of the ladder, jump to the next, you know, place within my ascension path. Is it old energy? A lot of times it is. And you guys are just holding on to it and you're still reacting to it, not realizing that it's actually not part of your reality anymore, but you keep sucking it up and pulling it in. And so it keeps showing up and you're like not understanding, like I know that I've cleared this, so why does it keep coming up? Because you keep giving it attention, right? The subconscious programming and the higher self is going to come in and say, hey, are we ready to move? Are we ready to jump to the next vibration? Let's see if this is still triggering you. And so if it's still triggering you, ask yourself, is this valid? Is this actually a trigger and a subconscious wounding that is still running within me? Or is this an old energy that I have actually cleared and I need to stop reacting to? Right? It's a very important thing that you guys start to feel into and start to have the awareness of, because it doesn't matter how much you communicate with the twin. They're still going to reflect you back to you. It's you that needs to be discerning. It's you that needs to like be in that conscious awareness of what's actually going on here, what you're potentially perpetuating and holding on to, and what you need to release and or have already released, but haven't come into the awareness of, I've already healed this, and so why have I not let it go, right? So hopefully that makes sense, you guys. This isn't about, communicating in the same way that you have in the past and thinking that you're going to work everything out, through a few conversations here and there. This is about working everything out within, right? This is an as within, so without. They're just going to show you where you're at. But it is up to you to decide if this is an old energy that's coming up through them, through the higher masculine, through the higher self, that is basically saying, okay, let's go to the next level here. And if you're still like playing around with that, even though you've already healed it, or if this is actually something that's going on within you, that it's time for you to actually hunker down and be like, okay, I'm not going to continue to run this subconscious programming and this subconscious pattern because it's fucking up my life, right? So that's what I have, you guys. I hope that resonates. You guys have an awesome day.